Today, I offer this bill to counter a trend in our higher education of our universities attempting to exclude from employment or deny promotion to scholars and professors who do not conform to liberal ideologies fashionable in our public universities. We've seen a trend across the United States of forcing faculty, in order to remain employed, to formally endorse a set of beliefs that may be contrary to their own, all in violation of the First Amendment. A recent AP University of Chicago poll found that only 20% of Americans believe conservatives have a lot of freedom to express their views on college campuses.
I want to speak today as a faculty member at one of our higher education institutions about some of the practical implications I'm concerned with about this bill. I'm concerned about the message that it sends to our faculty members. I'm concerned about the way that it will impact our ability to recruit and retain faculty members. And I'm worried about those things because of vague concepts in the bill and the unintended consequences I believe they will create. Can I teach about the history of women struggling for the privilege, for the right to vote? Again, something that on its face is prohibited by the text of this bill. I am worried about the way that this bill will chill speech. I am worried about the way it will be perceived by faculty and students at our educational institutions. For those reasons, I will be voting no and urge other members to do the same.
Some examples of the need for legislation in Kentucky happened in committee this last week. We heard from a University of Kentucky student who was enrolled in a women's literature class. The issue of gender was, of course, discussed in the class, and the student spoke about how she thought there were only two genders and that the characteristics of men and women complement each other. She was told by the professor that her comments were harmful and that she was negating their identity. She was then accused by the professor of breaking the UK Code of Conduct, where it states that I promise to embrace diversity and inclusion, to respect the dignity and humanity of others. This student saw this as shutting down of speech by the proponents of DEI to stop conversation and force people to bend the knee to an ideology that she viewed as divisive and anti-intellectual. Here is a summary of the contents of the bill. It begins with definitions, setting forth the discriminatory concepts. It then prohibits faculty, students, applicants, and staff from having to adopt certain political or philosophical positions in order to be admitted, hired, promoted, or receive any other academic benefit. It also prohibits preferential or prejudicial consideration based on an individual's actual or perceived political or social ideology. Required DEI statements would be prohibited. Universities also shall not use discriminatory concepts in training programs or materials. Universities shall not require a course that represents discriminatory concepts as fact or advocates support of discriminatory concepts as a prerequisite program requirement or general education course. State money shall not be used to fund discriminatory concepts in the classroom. At student orientation, the university shall include discussion and resources on the First Amendment, free speech, and viewpoint diversity, and provide the students the policies that they have adopted to protect free speech.
Diversity in itself is always a good thing. You know, the Germans are known for being great engineers. That's not just something somebody made up. There's a lot of a disproportionate world-renowned Germans that are engineers. The French are known for being great cooks. That doesn't mean no one else is a great cook. But in Cincinnati, we have a disproportionate number of French restaurants. Do we need more diversity in Cincinnati of restaurants? Or the Italians are disproportionately great race car drivers. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
I'm looking at page 2 of the bill, number 11, where it limits the ability of faculty to teach things that ascribe privileges to an individual or to a group based on race or sex. Now, I read that a few times, Mr. President, and I still struggled as a faculty member to understand exactly what is permitted and what is prohibited by that provision. For example, am I allowed to teach students about the history of the GI Bill and how white veterans were granted certain privileges related to home ownership that were denied to our black veterans? On its face, that is prohibited by the text of this bill. Can I teach my students about the history of redlining and its impact on housing today? On its face, I believe that is also prohibited by the text of this bill.
During this last election, one of our nominees for governor stood on national TV and said that she would eliminate transgender from the classroom. Is that a discriminatory concept, sir?
Senator from Warren.
It does not specifically spell that out as a discriminatory concept. It does spell out that in regards to your sex, you cannot, the discriminatory concept describes character traits, values, moral or ethical codes, privileges, beliefs to a race or sex to an individual because of the individual's race or sex.
So we are only...
Senator, hold on. Senator from Jefferson, 26.
Thank you,
Further
sir.
question or now discussion?
I would like to speak to the bill, sir.
You have 15 minutes to speak to the bill.
I will not use that. Thank you. You know, I've always believed that what's good for the goose is good for the gander, which means, guys, you have to have it both ways. And if you're going to say that we have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and we do not have the right to teach discrimination because we believe in diversity, then you have to stand on both sides of the issue, which means I have to give you the right to say things and do things publicly that I don't like. And you have to give me the same exact right to say things and do things that you don't like. You know, I can remember when I was a political science major at University of Kentucky, the new chair of the Department of Political Science gave me the only grade I ever received that wasn't an A. She gave me a C on a paper that I had written about the conflict in the Middle East because she didn't agree with me. She didn't agree with me. She felt that the Palestinians were right. I was writing on the side of Israel. I got a C. I certainly did not plan to sue the university over that. It's an intellectual disagreement. And you know what? I swallowed it, even though I didn't think it was right. But I took that C because she was the chair and I was a student. But it goes both ways. You can't say that we want the freedom to say this, and that without allowing the other side the same exact freedom to say this, and that. And I think this bill is dangerously confused. And I am sorry that people in our society feel so intimidated by other groups that they literally feel like they have to pass laws to protect themselves. That is so sad. But that is what I see this bill as being. And I would not vote for it. And I would beg my colleagues in this room to look at what you are doing here today. Thank you.